Ready? Are
Yes.
you rolling tape?
Rolling tape.
I am Halford Fairchild. I am a professor of psychology and Africana studies here at Pitzer College. I've been here since 1993.
Very cool. Okay, so what is it like being a professor of color on these campuses?
What's it like to be a professor of color on these campuses? Um, well, the way I would probably put it, first of all, it's a lot of different things that we get into. But the short answer would be it feels like being a soldier at war. Uh, for me, it feels a little bit, not really being a soldier at war. I guess I feel a little bit like being a lieutenant colonel. Okay, and the students of color are the soldiers at war. So I kind of feel more like a commander, and it's engaging in struggle. There are a number of challenges that we face as faculty of color. Some of it has to deal with the underrepresentation of students of color, and that underrepresentation puts additional pressure on faculty of color. So we get pulled in a lot of different directions. I think the fact that the American colleges and universities are the originators of racist thinking and continue to be the progenitors and the propagators of racism, sexism, and classism, and status and wealth inequality, then to be a man of color in this environment is there's some kind of peculiar institutions, peculiar feelings about it. It feels a little bit like being inside the belly of the beast.
Very cool. Interesting. Do you believe that overall the 5Cs have a diverse faculty?
There is some diversity. It could be more diverse. Overall, I think the 5Cs differ according to the level of diversity. I don't know what the actual numbers are. It would be great if somebody would actually publish those numbers. So these are the number of Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American faculty we have each of the colleges. This is how those numbers have changed over time. I think the fact that you don't have an easy access to the actual numbers is a sign and symptom of the underrepresentation of faculty of color in general. Certainly can be more, and having said that, I will also say that the Claremonts are maybe a little bit better than the national average with respect to faculty diversity. I'm thinking, for example, that at Pitzer College we have, I think, nearly 5% African American faculty. I think at Pomona College it's similar. That's 1 in 20. Although the African American population is 12% of the country, so in a certain respect you can say African Americans are underrepresented on the faculty. But nationwide, African Americans only make up 2% of faculty. So we almost have double, what we would want to have. So, there's good and bad things you can say about the level of diversity among the faculty, students, and staff.
Do you feel that the 5Cs have taken steps to addressing the issues of race on campus?
Well, they are trying to take steps. They're taking symbolic steps. They've made some token gestures. But the real kind of meaningful changes that need to take place, will take generations to accomplish. I think we've made great strides at the colleges since in the last 40 years. With the creation of the ethnic studies programs that began like in the late 1960s, I want to say, around 1970 or so. So we're looking at about a 45-year history of racial change at the Claremont colleges. And I think we've made huge progress in those 45 years. And the next 45 years, hopefully, we'll make even more huge progress. And maybe in the next 145 years, we would say, the job is done.
It's kind of leading into my next question. Since you started at Pitzer, have you seen great change or not?
I've seen quite a bit of change, yes. I think that here at Pitzer College, the faculty's become more diverse with respect to race and gender.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when I came, I think we had 25% women faculty. Now we have over 50% women faculty. When I first came here, I think we had about 25% faculty of color, and now it's like 40% or so faculty of color. So we've made great changes there. I think the student body has waxed and waned with respect to diversity. In the recent years, it seems to me as though Pitzer has done a pretty good job,
Mm-hmm.
from my point of view, with the student body diversity. And I certainly have been very blessed to have, maybe perhaps because I am a man of color, to draw students from diverse backgrounds into my classes. And my
Mm-hmm.
classes tend to be maybe more diverse than the average classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the classes are made more wonderful because of that reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Do you think, are there any additional resources that would be beneficial to students of color that we don't already have?
Well, there's additional resources that would be beneficial to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Financial aid is a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we want to do is to bring the cost of the education down. I think the cost is very prohibitive.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly we can have a lot of the things that students are demanding for, more faculty diversity, more student representation, maybe more curricular offerings, maybe less white supremacy, and maybe more space for their groups and activities, affinity groups, to get together and actually have what you call safe places, safe gathering places. When I say less white supremacy, I think I had kind of an insight because we discussed this in our classes. Just recently, this semester, when we were discussing these very issues. And one of the students' demands is for to pay attention to the problem of white supremacy. And, I tried to illustrate for my students how pervasive the problem of white supremacy really is. So that, when you take Introduction to Psychology, you're really taking an introduction to white supremacy from a psychological point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take Introduction to Anthropology, you're really taking an introduction to white supremacy from an anthropological point of view. When you take economics, political science, history, almost any and all of the disciplines, even biology and astronomy, are all so deeply steeped in the culture of Europe and the supremacy, the alleged supremacy of the white race, that students are inundated in this ideology of white supremacy. It's in the curriculum. It's in the textbooks. So we really need a revolution. It can't just be solved here at Pitzer College. We need a revolution in terms of what we think we know about the world in which we live.
Mm-hmm. What are the best ways for someone to be an ally to students of color on these campuses?
One would be to, this is kind of an interesting question, and I've given it a little bit of thought also. It's sort of like the question that kind of frequently comes up, well, what can the white student do? This white student who's really not the white supremacist,
Mm-hmm.
the white student who really isn't the problem, the white student who really is a sympathizer. But because he or she is white, there's that racial barrier, and the white student doesn't want to be patronizing, but still wants to be an ally and to help. So what can the white student do? I would say certainly doing the kind of things you're doing now, certainly joining the marches, being present, but also kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, and sitting at the dining hall table where the students of color are sitting, going out of your comfort zone and taking advantage of a wonderful opportunity that you have here at the Claremont colleges to actually get to form cross-racial friendships where you can really get to know somebody really well. And I can understand there's a lot of inhibition there. There's a tendency for people to stay with their own group. But all students really, but the white students maybe has to make a little extra effort to get out of their own ethnic enclave and to reach out and to embrace somebody from a very different background and to get to know them and to become friends with them. But the other thing that I think is very important would be for the white students to break out of the mold of continuing to immerse themselves in ideologies of white supremacy by taking white studies. You know, a lot of times people want to critique black students for taking a black studies course, but all these courses are white studies courses, okay? And all the white students are taking white studies courses. Wouldn't it be interesting if the white students would begin to take ethnic studies courses, and in fact, even to major in an ethnic studies course? What's your major?
Psychology
So you're
and
psycho-
media.
And media.
Yeah.
Imagine how your life would be different if you majored in Africana studies. You could still do psychology.
Mm-hmm.
You could double major in psychology and Africana studies and do a minor in media studies. But imagine you as a apparently white person were to major in Africana studies. A number of things would happen. First of all, your worldview will change.
Mm-hmm.
Your sense of yourself, your group, and your understanding of the world in which you live will be greatly broadened and enriched. But then, as you go through the world applying to graduate schools or applying to jobs here or there, people will ask you, well, why did you major in Africana studies? You will have a story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Your answer will make you really stand out.
Yeah.
And will actually make you a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say, I would strongly encourage white students to take courses in Africana studies, Latino studies, Asian Pacific Islander studies, Native American studies, and to even consider majoring or minoring in these fields and being able to tell a story that would make you a true ally for not just changing your personal life, not changing here at the colleges, but changing the world at large.